Hey guys, welcome to Millennial Money Honey, where we talk all things money. Today I wanted to share actually a super intimate look at my own journey into FIRE, financial independence, retire early, and how I got the idea that I even wanted to retire early. So let's talk. My journey into personal finance actually started way back, back in 2017 when I was first making my own money and I had like a decent salary. I was making like $60,000. And so that was enough for me to save enough money and be like, what should I do? Should I like invest it? Should I save it? What do I do? How do I like make this money grow for me? But I had no idea what financial independence or that concept was. 2 years later, I was at work and a friend sent me an article to the Mr. Money Mustache blog, basically the Bible of FIRE. And he has this article on the shockingly simple math behind retiring early. I read that and literally my mind was blown. Mr. Money Mustache actually retired at 30. How? What? Why? How is this even possible? And I was just hooked. He was a software engineer and like crunched the numbers and did all the math and looked at historical studies. And after following him, thought, you know what? They all did it. I can do it too. I'm a graphic designer and so many of them are engineers. And I knew that if they could do it, I could still achieve those results, maybe on a different timeline. So I crunched the numbers, and for me, it would take me 10 years to retire. So I would be 37. And I thought, you know what? Okay, this is super radical, but if I miss my goal, at least I would still be on the path towards becoming financially independent and not having to work for money. And I could do what I've always wanted to do, which is to be a stay-at-home mom and, take care of my kids and not have to worry about like, I need to be working and I can't be there with them. So that was like my eye-opening experience. So I started with the Mr. Money Mustache blog, and I'll link all of these links below. But after that, I binged the Mad Scientist podcast. And then I proceeded to watch all of Our Rich Journey's YouTube videos. And between all three of them, they just really blew open my mind about tax advantage savings account, what an HSA was, a 401k, and like how I should be maximizing all of those to really take advantage of retiring early. Until September of 2019, I was not tracking my expenses at all. I am not a spreadsheet person. And I know like some of the flack that financial independence movement gets is often that people live in the spreadsheet. They become extremely frugal. And of course, I think when you first find FIRE, it is this like notion of where can I nickel and dime everything? I've really had to like shift out of that mindset of like, oh, I spent $1 there. I kind of like would beat myself up for the longest time, but it's like, I'm still a work in progress. It's like harder for me to spend money than it is to save and invest it. And that is how I know I am financially literate, because it's such a struggle for me to spend it when it's like, well, I could invest it and then that dollar could become like $50, in like a couple of years. But that being said, I think it's so important to even just get started on your FIRE journey. And if you have to move and adjust it, like it'll change and be fluid with you. You quickly realize, yes, you can nickel and dime, you can cut back your spending, but also a lot of it is how can I increase my income? There is a fine line between going for the highest paying job and also like finding happiness at your job. And I think it's important to find that medium where you're not like hating your life. And actually in the current job that I am in, it's not the highest paying job that I maybe could have gotten. It is a job that I'm happy at, that I am living comfortably at. I'm happy in this lifestyle while I work towards my goal for FIRE. It's not by any means that I'm making like a little bit of money. I'm making a lot of money, relative to the average person. And I think that's a key factor towards starting your FIRE journey, which is how can I increase my income? I increased my income by moving from advertising into tech specifically. So many of these people who are in the FIRE community, like the Mad Scientist and Mr. Money Mustache, and even Christy Shen from Quit Like a Millionaire, they were all software engineers. I cannot be a software engineer. Like, I just cannot. So and I do like design, but it was for me figuring out how I can get into tech and make that tech money. Engineers obviously make more so they can like retire a little bit faster, but for me, that's obviously a trade-off that I'm willing to take because I'm not an engineer. So in September of 2019, I started line by line tracking every single like item that I would spend my money on so I could kind of see, ballpark what I was spending on. And I finally was able to calculate my savings rate, which I had never done before. I didn't even really know what a savings rate was. So I started tracking all of my expenses and figuring out what my savings rate was, which is the percentage of money that I was saving. And I discovered that I was already kind of in the 60% range, but I could push that up to the 70, 80% range. And so even though my initial target was retiring at 37, I am currently scheduled to retire by 35 now. So as my income has increased, my spending has decreased. I've set myself up to retire a little bit earlier, which 2 years, that's not insignificant. So we'll see. No, we won't see. It's going to happen. I think you have to put out the intention that you believe something will happen. Half of FIRE is having the mindset, and even in personal finance, that you can achieve something. If you don't think you can achieve results, then I think you're already setting yourself up for failure. And I think that's one of the key mentalities I have when I think about my own personal finance journeys. Like anything is attainable. It's just what you're willing to sacrifice for it and to create actionable steps to achieve that goal. For example, it's always been my goal to make 6 figures before 30 gross income. And so it's like, what progress do I need to be making to achieve those results? And that's for me, moving from job to job to job and always negotiating a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher, or a lot higher. I at one point leapt from $70,000 to $85,000 salary just out of switching jobs. So always moving, always growing, and having that hunger and thirst for that goal to achieve it is something that, really fuels my fire. Fire at the end of the day, I think it's so financially focused and you're always working towards hitting your fire number, which for me, mine is $1.2 million to be able to quote unquote retire early and never have to work again. But at the end of the day, it's not all about money. It's also about finding joy in living and life. That's why I say I took a pay cut. I was earning $80 an hour freelancing, but I took a pay cut to take for $58 because that is the trade-off of happiness. It's like finding that balance between money and happiness. And even though you are working towards this goal, it is a lot about the journey. And, it's not the end in mind. It's about the whole process of experience. And I'm sure when I hit 1.2, it won't feel any different. I'll just be like, oh, okay, I've reached my goal. Yay. And I will be so excited, but at the end of the day, it's just a number. And will it drastically increase my happiness? I don't know, but it will be the journey that I look back on and really find happiness in. So if you're starting your fire journey today, if you are still on it, if you've already fired, I would love to hear more about your story and how you found fire and what you hope to achieve, because I think it's all about finding this little community of people who maybe think a little different. Maybe some might call you crazy, but again, it's like this, people have done it, people are doing it, they're living the dream. And I just want to create this little bubble, come into my bubble, and be supportive of all the people who are on their own financial independence journey. And even if you don't retire early, I think being financially independent is still for everyone. So stay tuned. As always, you can find me on Instagram at Millennial Money Honey. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel and let's talk money.